Hey friends, so in this video, I want to share a fun side hobby that's made me thousands of dollars over the years that you can do with relatively little time. And it's called bank churning. The idea behind bank churning is that you are taking advantage of new customer signups at banks that typically require you to do certain things and then they'll pay you. And so I'm going to walk you through some current offers that are in the market today. One is from Chase that's pretty amazing. It's $900 and I could probably set this up in about 20 minutes of time. And typically, the requirements for bank churning will require that you have a little bit of money saved up and you're able to have a direct deposit. Now, I love bank churning because I'm thinking about how to always be compounding. And it's perfect for someone that might have a safety net saved up 3 to 6 months worth of expenses that they have sitting in cash that they're not comfortable investing yet because they never know when they might need that cash. And so what I would do is think about how can I have this cash earn more money on its own? And bank churning is a little bit of a more active way to earn some extra money. So in this video, I'll walk you through my exact process step by step so that you can decide if it's something that you would want to do. And then I'll also walk through any cons that I've experienced. I'll also show you some hot tips on getting around direct deposit requirements, how to find bonuses that don't require any cash saved up. So if you're in a place where you don't have your safety net saved yet, you can still take advantage of this. It's a great way to also motivate yourself to want to save more so that you can start having your money earn money. Okay, so my first step in this process is to be able to find good offers. And my favorite tool for doing this that I've been using for years is a website called Doctor of Credit. My assumption is they get paid when you sign up for bank or credit card deals. And so it's a great little business for them because they want to share information that's helpful for you so that you'll sign up. And I've always found their website to be incredibly informative and makes this whole process really easy. So to do bank churning, what I do is I go to their website and I'm going to go to best bank account bonuses. The cool thing about this website is that they'll update it every single month. So it's really easy to stay up to date with the latest bank offers that might be applicable to you. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is look at the most lucrative offers and see if it's something that in your unique situation you would qualify for. And so the Chase offer this month has been incredibly popular. And so I want to take a look at that to see who can take advantage of it and what I need to do. So to do that, I'm going to click the Chase checking offer. And then what you'll see is a breakdown of all of the different offers that they've found. You can see a bird's eye view of what you have to do in just this summary. So for Chase, we would have to save $15,000 in a savings account for 90 days. And then typically there's some type of direct deposit requirement. So you go to the post to read the full offer. And what we're going to look for, and this is what I do, is look at what the different steps are to take advantage of this offer. You really want to look out and make sure that you qualify because there's nothing worse than going through the administrative tasks of opening up an account and doing these steps. And at the end of the 90 days, you don't get your money because you missed out on something. The other thing you want to look out for are fees from the bank. The whole point of this is to make a little extra money on the side by opening bank accounts. It's not to get charged by the banks that you're opening with. And Chase is pretty notorious for sneaking in fees. And so the cool thing about this website is that they'll mention any fees that they see, and then you can look at how to avoid them. So the cool thing about Doctor of Credit is that they'll give you a summary of the offer before you go to the bank's website that gives you some details around what you need to do. So for this specific offer from Chase, basically what you need to do is you need to have a checking account set up with direct deposit. Now, the way I handle direct deposit and have done it in the past is it's really easy if you have an employer that pays you electronically. You can switch your direct deposit from your existing bank to the new bank. That's one way. The way I do it is if you have an employer that allows you to send money to two different bank accounts, it's incredibly easy to set up direct deposit this way. So I would keep my main bank open and I would be receiving the majority of my paycheck to that bank. And then for these other banks that I was trying to get bonuses with, I would send the amount of money that I needed for that bonus to this other bank. Now, if you don't have an employer or you're not employed and you don't have a way to do direct deposits, I'm going to show you later how there are ways to get around that. And Doctor of Credit helps you with that too. So the main thing that you want to look at when you're looking at direct deposit requirements is how much money you have to do in a certain amount of time. And so for that, I'll actually go to the bank's website and look at the fine print. All it really says is that you need to set up direct deposit and contribute money within 90 days of enrollment. What I'll be careful about is I'll look at, how much money do I need to put in my direct deposit to qualify. Some banks require that you have a direct deposit of a certain amount. Other banks just require that you do it once or twice. So for this offer, when I read the fine print, what you see here is it doesn't look like they have a minimum requirement for your direct deposit. So all they require is that you do at least one. Okay, so that's the first requirement. And then the second requirement is that you do have a certain amount of savings to be able to get the savings account bonus. And in this case, Chase is asking that you deposit $15,000 into one of their savings accounts. And then if you do both of these things, you get a bonus. So you get $900 after 90 days. And so for me, this is just pretty much free money if you can meet these obligations. Now, keep in mind that any bank bonuses, just like savings interest, will be taxable, but it's free money. So, don't not do it because there's taxes. Now, let's say you don't have $15,000 saved up. Not a problem. I'm going to show you how to get around that. So, if you don't have a safety net saved up today, then the best thing to do is look at different offers that might only require a direct deposit. And so I'll zoom in on the different offers here. It looks like Chime does not require any type of savings. It's only a direct deposit requirement. So what I would do for this is I would look at the post, I would read, what are the different requirements. It looks like the only requirement is that you do a direct deposit of at least $200. All right, so I mentioned that if you don't have a way to set up direct deposits with an employer, that there are ways around this. Let me show you how to do this. So when you click any of the links here that talk about direct deposit requirements in these offers, it's going to go to a section of their website that is forum users that have reported when you transfer money from one bank to another bank if it's coded as a direct deposit. And this is not a guarantee that it will be coded as a direct deposit. It's just an experience of what other forum users have had happen successfully. So what I like to do is I like to look at the different bank accounts that have the most forum feedback. So for instance, if I was interested in this Chime offer, I can see that Discover Bank, Charles Schwab, Chase, and Fidelity all seem to code deposits as direct deposits. And so you can then click on these links to see what users have said about these banks. So for instance, Dylan back in 2022 said that he funded $201 from his Fidelity account and that the bonus was deposited within 1 hour. So that's pretty amazing, actually, that the bonus was picked up that quickly. So that's something that I would look at. Now, you can also read other forum posts who might say, hey, I tried to do this and it didn't work. So you want to just kind of see, which banks might code. Again, it's not a guarantee, and I'll talk about the cons later, but the con could be that you do this and then you don't get your bonus. So I always like to look at the banks that have kind of the most social proof around being able to get the bonus. But like I said, if you have an employer that you can set this up with, then that's a really easy way to do it. But these bank transfers are another pretty consistent way as well. Now, there are time requirements with bank churning. So when you churn a bank, so you get your bonus and then you close your account, you typically have to wait a certain amount of time before you're eligible for that bonus again. For instance, with Chase, it's about 2 years. So there's a big incentive to make sure you get your bonus and close the account. One key note is that existing customers don't get these bonuses. So if you're a loyal customer and you're like, hey, I wanted my bonus, but you already have an existing relationship with the bank, then they're not going to give it to you. And so this is typically in my mindset, I'm thinking about, does this company reward me for staying? Or do they reward just getting new customers? And so a lot of times banks don't reward existing customers with offers. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get new people in with juicy offers, and then they're going to gradually decrease the interest that you're earning on your money. For instance, Chase pays you basically no interest. And so the game here is that they're trying to get people in with these offers and then have your money there earning no interest. So for me, I'm trying to not have that happen. Now, one way around these time requirements, as a hot tip that I like, is that you can actually use a business bank account to get bonuses. And so Doctor of Credit also has that. And if you don't have a business today, it's really easy to open a sole proprietorship and you can have a business mowing lawns or doing anything small that you're paid for. And so this is just another great way to multiply the different ways that you can do this bank churning. So for instance, if you had a personal relationship with Chase and you weren't eligible for the personal bank bonus, if you had a business, even if it was just a very small sole proprietorship, you could do the Chase Business $500 business offer and still make money that way. One thing to note is that there are typically also additional state specific bonuses or restrictions. So you always want to look through this list based on where you're living and see, what you qualify for. Some states have really juicy bonuses, and then some bank bonuses restrict which states you can get the bonus in. So you always want to make sure that you're not trying to get a bank bonus that you're not qualified for. Okay, so let me share a few other hot tips with you. I would advise that you write down the different offers that you're going after and you're really clear about what you need to do. Again, there's nothing worse than trying to do this work and then not getting the bonus because you missed out on some rule. And if you start doing this with more banks, like I've had 6 or 7 banks going at once, it can get a little complicated even though it's relatively simple around what you need to do. So I like to track, when did you start the offer? When are you going to be eligible for the bonus? So if it's 90 days, let's say today is February 20th, I'll do 90 days from today, and then I'll be tracking so that when I hit my 90 days, I make sure that the bonus is coming through. And if not, I'll be following up with the bank. And then after I get my bonus, I'm going to make sure to take that money and then put it into an account that is earning me higher interest. So in whatever you write down, just make sure you write down, when you're going to get it, the different requirements that you have to do, and then anything that you need to do to avoid fees. For instance, Chase has some weird transfer rules, and so you want to make sure that you set up automatic transfers from the checking account you have to the savings account. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. It's just managing the administrative bit of it that can take a little bit of extra overhead. So let me talk to you about some of the cons, and then you can make the decision on your own for your own circumstance if this is something that you're interested in. So the first con, and I'll share the biggest first, is that you do have to be careful about who you're banking with. So all of these banks will be FDIC insured, so your money's always protected, but you are going through a lot of bureaucracy. So if you have your safety net and you're moving it from bank to bank, there can be delays in your transfer time. And I'll give you an example. I did one of these churns with Citi, and they don't have a local branch where I live. And so after I qualified for my bonus, I went to pull that money out electronically. And for some reason, when I canceled the account, they wouldn't let me transfer it back to myself electronically. And so they actually had to mail me a check. Now, there was no issue. I ended up getting the check. I deposited it back into my main account. But there is a little bit of stress when you're dealing with your safety net. And I saw $0 on my Citi account, but I didn't have that money in my other account, and I was waiting on this check. And you're starting to think about, what if the check gets lost, and then going through that process. So, again, for me, there's not risk in the sense of I'm going to lose my money, but there is risk in the sense of you could experience hiccups in moving the money around that add additional administrative time for you to have to handle, or the stress of those fringe cases that typically never really happen because for most people they're not moving money often between bank accounts. The other cons, there's an opportunity cost. So let's say you have your $15,000 amount saving in a 4% high yield savings account. Well, that money would be earning interest on its own in the high yield savings account. And so there's some opportunity cost where you have to look at how much interest will I make in my high yield savings account versus how much will I make in this bonus. The bonuses are going to be very rich, so the interest rates are very strong for doing this. So it's a high interest in a very quick short amount of time. So it's usually well worth it. But if you don't get the bonus for some reason, let's say you don't have a direct deposit set up and you try to just do a transfer and hope that that qualifies as a direct deposit, and for some reason the bank denies it, you don't really have a way to get the money, even though the bank might have promised it, and even if you've met all of the requirements. So I've never had an issue with that. I've always gotten my bonuses, but it could happen. And then the other con is simply just your own time. But for me, I can do this and I can set up a bank online and get this done in about 10, 15, or 20 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time, but if you're someone that just doesn't want to do this, the administrative steps are too much and you just want something simple, then just keep your money in a high yield savings account. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But for me, this was a way to earn a little bit of extra money, and it's kind of a nerdy side hobby. So it was just kind of fun for me. One thing to talk about, so there I have never experienced any type of negative impact because I'm moving from bank to bank. I've never heard of that. Typically, all banks use soft credit pulls, and you can see that in the Doctor of Credit website. So they'll tell you if it's a hard credit pull or a soft credit pull. A hard credit pull is when you run your credit for a credit card, and with bank accounts they don't do that. So there's no impact to your credit. And the way the system tracks users when they're looking up bank account information is they're not looking at how many accounts you have. They're only looking for bad information, like, if you have a negative balance with the bank or something like that. So those are all of the cons that I've ever experienced or could think of. There might be more. Again, this is a new channel, and if you have other opinions about bank churning, feel free to share. I try to heart all of the messages. So if there's something I missed that you've experienced, please call it out. And this is just, again, me sharing my personal experience. And then for the mindset behind what I'm trying to do here, I mentioned always be compounding. So that's kind of always running in my mindset is how can I make my money, make more money? The other thing is I'm also trying to balance how much am I profiting for the future and how much am I profiting in the current moment, and making sure I'm not depriving myself too much. The reason I love bank churning is because it's almost free money that I don't have to work for, and it's money that sometimes I'll use just as my fun money. So while I'm having a really high savings rate with my employer and my paychecks, I can keep this money to the side and do fun stuff that I want to do, so I'm not feeling too restricted. Now, if you would like to use this money to accelerate your wealth building, I think that's awesome. It's just another way to try to find a balance, and it's another way to kind of fight the idea that if you're saving money and you're finding ways to make money, that for some reason you're having to give up a lifestyle or your current standard of living. So that's bank churning in a nutshell. There's really no limit to the amount of times that you can do this. You can continue to come back to Doctor of Credit and look up the different bank offers. It's really just limited to how many direct deposits can you set up, whether it's from another bank account that codes it that way, and then how much cash do you have sitting around that you could use for savings, and then also how many have you done with different banks, and are there limits on how often that bank will give you the reward money. So if you're looking for some free fun side hobbies to make money, this is one that has been great for me in the past. Like I said, I've made thousands of dollars doing this in a year, and for really just sitting on a computer signing up for accounts and moving money around. So I hope it's been helpful. As I close this video, I just wanted to say thank you to this channel. I'm over 1,000 subscribers, which happened really quickly, actually over last weekend. It was pretty amazing to watch, and the positive comments have been really cool to see. I didn't know really what my experience on YouTube would be. Of course, you're always scared that there's going to be a lot of internet trolls and all of that, but it's been really positive, and I'm so happy to see that this channel has been helping people with good information. I put a poll in the community section of this page where I asked people, what would you like me to talk about next? One of the top votes was talk to us about more tactical accounts. And so bank churning is just a tactical thing that I like to do for fun. My main focus is in broader wealth building strategies as we get into investing and budgeting and some of the deeper mindsets. So I will be focused on that. If you're watching this, don't worry, I'm not going to become just a credit card review channel, which I see sometimes. So, but this is kind of fun to talk about just because it's a nerdy thing that I like to do, and so I'll kind of mix it in. If you want more information from me, I'm going to start posting on my website more often. So I'll post a link in my description. You can sign up. I actually haven't sent my first newsletter yet. I've received a lot of people signing up to receive information from me. So I feel like I owe it to start sending out things. But I plan to do that in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a mix of additional information that I just don't have the time to cover on YouTube, and then a lot more into the mindset of wealth building that I've learned over the last 15 years. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you in my next video. Thanks. Bye.